Alrighty, everybody, it's your boy Genius here on the table, and I have the compact variants of the P-10C and the CZ-P-09C. So it's the compact of the full-size ones that I just done a review on recently, and I came into that review of the full-size variants of these thinking what ultimately turned out to be true, and that is that I like the full-size P-10F better than I did the P-09F. Not that I don't love both of them, I just preferred, and I expected that to be true coming in, okay? And I was a little bit surprised on this one because I expected something a little bit different than what I actually found out at the range. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but like always, before I get started, just want to make sure that everyone knows Jesus Christ as their Savior. If you don't know what that means, as always, if you have any questions, anything, reach out to me in the comment section, or you can do a little more private. Go over to gsquaredtactical@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to answer any questions and or to share the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, as I said, on the full-size comparison of these, I came in expecting to shoot better, overall be better, and overall like the CZ P-10F better than the P-09F Nocturne, okay, and that turned out to be true in every category, some more than others, but not that the full-size Nocturne is not great. It was on my nightstand at the time, and I've been carrying the P-09C. As you can see, I have my EPS carry on here, and I also have the light on here. And because recently I've been carrying it in the Jeep and the truck with me, and also I have been holstering and EDCing this a little bit recently. So I have been carrying this over this. This has been in the safe. So, I'll talk to you a little bit about why that is here in just a second. But I came into this one thinking something a little different. But you have to understand that I do the reviews on these guns separately, and I try to recall from memory how I performed with each one of them. This was the first of the Nocturne series that I purchased when they came out with the F and the C. I got the C first, and this is the one that I ended up putting about 1,400 rounds through it thus far, and it's been nothing but flawless. It's not had a problem one of any kind, and we put all kinds of ammunition through it and everything else. But I remember performing very, very well with this gun, okay, with the Nocturne, and, not terribly bad with the P-10C, but again, just trying to recall. So I came into this one, oddly enough, although the ergos on the grip of the P-10C are very, very, if not the same, very similar, except for the length of the grip, obviously. But for some strange reason, the P-10F feels way better in my hand than does the P-09F Nocturne, but on these two, the Nocturne feels better in my hand, and also when I'm shooting, I get my knuckle eat up under the trigger guard of this one for some reason, and I do not on the Nocturne, okay? Maybe we'll talk a little bit about why that might be here in a second, but holding these two, I prefer holding the Nocturne. It holds better for me. Just a difference in people's hands, and just, like I said, just a little bit of difference in grip. But I did the same test as I did on the full size. I did the accuracy, the flippiness or recoil. Also did the just alternating between targets, how fast I could get between one target and the other, and actually staying on target. And then at the end, as you will see, I went and put carry ammo in both of these, some plus P, because I wanted to see, since I would potentially carry both of these, I wanted to see, how I would perform with carry ammunition with each one of them, and I was surprised with the outcome on that as well. Okay, so on the P-10C here, obviously it came with 2 magazines. This is the threaded barrel version, so we'll pretend, I guess, that it is not. That is the non-threaded barrel version that is optic ready, because the non-threaded barrel comes with 2 flush fit 15-round magazines, but these are +2 that came with the threaded barrel version. But on the standard P-10C that is optic ready, it will be 15-round mags. Also 2 15-round mags come with the Nocturne. The Nocturne mags will not fit into the P-10C, okay, but the P-10C mags will fit and function in the Nocturne, okay. The P-09C Nocturne is cold hammer forged barrel, same on the P-10C. Obviously this is striker fired on the P-10C, and it is double action, single action hammer fired on the P-09C. The P-09C has luminescent sights, 3-dot metal on the P-10C. Barrel length on the P-09C is 3.74, and it's 4.02 on the standard non-threaded barrel version of the P-10C. So barrel length is a slight bit longer. The width, this is a strange thing here, the width on the P-09C is 1.5, and the width on the P-10C is 1.26. So it's about close to a 1/4 inch difference in width, the P-10C being thinner, which is kind of odd, right? Because I typically prefer thinner grips as far as how it holds in my hand, but I prefer the grip that I get on the Nocturne. I'll try to talk about why that is here in a second, but before we do that, without the optics, of course, the overall height on the P-09C is 5.4 inches. P-10C is 5.2. The weight is stupid similar. The weight on the P-09C is 26.1. The weight on the non-threaded barrel version of this is 26 ounces. Actually almost the same with the threaded barrel version. Again, overall length without the threaded barrel is 7.3 on both. Okay, so what we'll do first is we'll just get right to the range right fast before I talk about why I think some of what happened, okay? This one has the CH precision optic on there. That is a flush fit made specifically for the P-10C. So, and then of course this is the EPS carry, as mentioned, it is a red dot. So the first test that I done was just shooting for accuracy. So let's take a look at that. Okay, just shooting for accuracy here. Taking my time, methodically, one shot at a time. Got the P-09C, and I feel like, you know, when I was hitting the target over here during the rapid fire at one single target, I was definitely more in the center with this one than I was with that one. So I feel like I'm going to be more accurate with this one, just again taking slow, methodical shots, but who knows, I've been wrong before, so only one way to find out. All right, I expected my group to be a little bit tighter than that, but again, we are talking about a hammer-fired gun, which is a different beast versus a striker-fired, so I'm going to do the same thing with the P-10C, no excuses. Whichever one does better, it just is what it is. So as you can see, with just standard ball ammo, I was just shooting. I know these are NATO and all that other stuff, but unless somebody's sending me some 124, when I have a plethora of 115 laying around, I'm going to shoot my 115, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. But I was shooting the Remington UMC between, or in both of them, and as you can see, definitely seemed to keep a tighter group with the CZ P-10C, which again was kind of surprising to me. But the next test that I done was just flippiness, if you will. And man, that thing looks like it kicks like a mule. You know, people say that all the time. That recoil is stiff, you know, and most of the time I don't agree, but I think it looks worse on camera. But I do my best to pick that up on camera. So let's take a look at which one has more muzzle rise or flippiness, if you will. And again, keep in mind this is the threaded barrel version. So, but I could only assume with it having the longer barrel on this one that the non-threaded barrel would probably have more muzzle rise. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it certainly does, because I had the standard P-10C before I purchased this one and sold that one. But either way, let's take a look at that. But what I did is I put 10 rounds of plus P hollow point in there, defensive ammunition for this particular test. I'm gonna do 10 rounds in each one of them and try to see which one has more muzzle rise. Hopefully it'll pick up for the camera. I will say this, I wasn't even really trying all that hard, and I wore the center of that target out way better group than I did when I was shooting for accuracy. So maybe I should have done the accuracy test with the 147. Either way, let me grab the P-10 here. And I got, again, 10 rounds of the jacketed hollow point plus P loaded up in it as well. Again, just shooting for, muzzle rise, just to see, how hard it hits, if you will. The flippiness, people call it. Could be wrong. I can't ever tell until I look back at it on camera, but I feel like this one had more muzzle rise or flippiness, more recoil, if you will, than did the P-09. But we'll see. We'll see on camera, or on the table, should I say. All right, so as you can see, I could feel it. Typically, I can't. Typically, I have to watch it back on camera to know for sure, because I typically can't tell when I'm just simply shooting it, okay? But I could certainly tell, absolutely could tell that there was, or feel it. I could feel it, and also I could see it when I was editing the video, that the P-10C definitely has more muzzle rise or flippiness or felt recoil than does the P-09C, which again makes it a little odd that I was able to keep a tighter group with the P-10C. But again, I'll talk a little bit about why I think that is here in just a second. So the next thing I did, obviously, was I bounced between targets. I have about, between the dueling tree and the two steel targets, reduced size silhouette, I was bouncing between 4 and 5 different target setups, and just, trying to get between them as quickly as I could and stay on and actually hit those targets. So let's see which one I was able to do better with in that group. Okay, so I think, again, I'm sure that someone else will watch it and say differently. It all will depend on which one of these they prefer, how people can be. But I feel like it was mostly equal. I don't really want to say that I give the slight edge to one over the other. Not really. I think they were mostly kind of equal, and we'll just leave it at that, okay? So what I was thinking was, I remembered back when I done the review, and I'm like, I just remember shooting so good. Like, I just remember so many comments in the comment section about shooting so good with the P-09C. And I just wasn't expecting, when I did the initial, accuracy test, to be, or to keep a tighter group with the P-10C. So what I decided to do is put some plus P, some carry ammo, some hollow point. I put some plus P, I believe it was 124 grain through it. Something that I would carry, something I do carry. I have it in here now. And see how I perform with that. Because at the end of the day, is that not what's going to matter, right? Because, you're going to be, you're going to be shooting with your defensive or carrying it with your defensive ammunition. But before I get to that, just want to talk about a few of the differences in the gun. Obviously on the Nocturne, the slide as on the full size, the C model also, the slide, you got the very low bore axis, again, making it, you would think, significantly more accurate, but also attributes to the less muzzle flip or muzzle rise, but it rides lower into the frame like you see on a traditional CZ75 front and rear serrations, but the serrations do come across the top, okay? And so I've never had an issue grabbing onto what little real estate you have on the slide of these type setups, the 75 type setups, but having these serrations that come across the top really do help with that. Again, the C has the more traditional striker fired thickness in the slide of, say, a Glock or, you know, Springfield, something like that. So front rear serrations, maybe not quite as aggressive and over the top as the Nocturne, but very functional and usable. Have no beef with it. They both have accessory rails. Both have squared off trigger guards. Trigger guard on the Nocturne seems to be a good bit bigger, and I like how much more it's undercut here at the back of the trigger guard, which I think attributes to just how much better it feels in my hands seemingly, and just the overall length on the full size makes it feel better to me, because when I squeeze down and my fat hands spread out or fingers spread out, I just have more real estate. So I think that's got a lot to do with it. Okay, both have memory pads on each side for your support thumb, just in the right place. Very good on that. Both are optic cut, flush mount, depending on, you can get the Hollison for this, but I went with the C&H Precision. Went with the, originally with the Vortex on this, I had the Fox Army on here, but I ultimately wanted an enclosed optic, so I went with the EPS. The Nocturne has luminescent sights, as I have already said, and the P-10C has 3-dot white, both steel sights. Okay, I prefer the texturing on the Nocturne as I did on the full size, as I have said already. I'm really not a fan of the, I know some people are, hey, you got your little sissy hands, you know, but I'm really not a fan with, you know, having eczema on my hands from refrigerant oil use and just the things that cleaning components, coil cleaner and stuff, and the HVAC work that I do. I've just destroyed my hands over the years. It is what it is, but these real sharp needle-like texturing on the front and the rear of the P-10C is a little much for me. But then again, on the sides, it seems to be a little underdone. So, you know, but most people like that setup. So if you do, that's great. They both have interchangeable back straps, but I prefer the texturing a lot more actually on the Nocturne. Okay, they both, as mentioned, do have back straps, and the Nocturne come with, as I have said on the other video, with the black, all blacked out box or case. Doesn't have the gold latches. It does come with your snap cap and your tool to remove your optic plate, etc. And the Nocturne, of course, come with the safety selector switch if you want to switch that out. I prefer the decocker, so I kept it. It does, as I mentioned, have 3 backstrap options: small, medium, and large. Cleaning brush and the ramrod that come in there as well. And there is the best look you're going to get at your box for the Nocturne. You do have your lock in there, of course, as already mentioned. And on the P-10C, you have your traditional gold latches that you typically see on your P-09s. Flip it around the right way here. Thanks to the guy that told me about the little push there, man. All these years I've loved CZ. I didn't know it even had a push on the box. Anyway, like I said, 3 back straps on that. Does come with your snap caps and your tool to take down ramrod, and a cleaning brush on that as well. And obviously it doesn't have a safety selector because there is no safety on the P-10C. Okay, so that'll be just about that. So I waited till last to do the carry ammunition, the plus P, if you will. And you know, when I decided to bring it over on the table, because I was quite surprised with the outcome. So let's take a look at shooting both of these with plus P defensive ammunition, keeping in mind that the P-10C was certainly a good bit more snappy. Okay, since I seem to have shot way better with the plus P defensive ammo, the jacketed hollow point, with the P-09C, I thought, well, that's technically what you would be carrying in the gun if, you know, if you were carrying it for a defensive application. And since I have such a good co-witness just trying to use the iron sights, I thought I'm gonna give it another shot with defensive ammo. I feel like that would be a more fair comparison since that's how you would be carrying it, correct? So let's just do that. Okay, I definitely feel like the group was a lot tighter than it was when I was shooting with just the regular range ammo or ball ammo. So I'm gonna do the same thing, 10 rounds, plus P, jacketed hollow point, defensive ammunition with the P-10C. Let's see how it goes. When I did the shooting with the plus P off camera, just testing my theory, man, the group that I kept with the Nocturne with the plus P ammunition was insane in comparison to the P-10C. Now, I'm not going to try to explain that. I'm just doing what I do and reporting the facts. And the fact is, with carry ammunition, I was way, way tighter on my groups and shot faster with the Nocturne than I did with the P-10C, okay? And I do remember when I done the initial review on the Nocturne is, man, I was just, yeah. But the reason I feel like when I did the full-size review and I did the review on these, that I did better with the striker-fired P-10C and P-10F. I'm not going to say it's true about the P-10F because I really, really like the P-10F, and I really shoot good with that thing regardless of whether it's hammer or striker fired on that day or not. You know, whether or not that's what I'm shooting, I'm always lights out with the P-10F. That is a freaking awesome gun, okay? So I'm not even going to put that in there. But I do shoot more, way, way more striker-fired guns than I do hammer-fired guns. And if you shoot hammer-fired guns, you know what I'm talking about. It takes, you know, 6, 8, maybe 10 magazines to really dial it in and get good with it because the trigger's different, the reset's different, the double action pull is different, the single action pull is different, just everything about it is different. And so you have to, you know, assimilate, if you will, to that. But if I would have stayed out at the range, and maybe I'll do this one day, if I would have stayed out at the range with these two and just put round after round down range, I full well believe that I could be better with the Nocturne C than with the P-10C. Not so much on the full-size ones, but on the compact. So in this comparison, I'm going to give the edge to the Nocturne. I really, really like this gun. Carry this gun, had it in the truck with me today, and I do utilize this gun a lot. Not taking anything away from the P-10C, like it a lot as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sure I left something out. If I did, you know me. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments section. I get back to every single person. Consider going over to Patreon, supporting me there, $5 or $10 a month. You can cancel anytime, no obligation. You can also go over to our website, gsquaredtactical.com, pick up some hats, shirts. We have all kinds of things to choose from over there. Or you can make a monetary donation, and we get the majority of that. You can also do super thanks. But if you can't do any of those things, your thumbs up, your subscription, your support, your share on your Instagram, Facebook, any way you can help out is always appreciated. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. And as always, to God only be the glory.